How's it going, hockey fans? Hope you're all doing well today. Welcome to the Hockey Stop, your source for all hockey news, hockey opinions, and hockey highlights. So in this video, we're talking about the top 3 Vezina finalists for 2020 for the NHL. And those players are Tampa Bay Lightning's Andrei Vasilevskiy, the Boston Bruins Tuukka Rask, and the Winnipeg Jets Connor Hellebuyck. And I want to talk about who I think deserves the most. You know, there are definitely other valuable goaltenders that could have been considered for the top 3. I think one that kind of sticks out for me is Arizona Coyotes' Darcy Kuemper. And I think what kind of took him away from the top 3 was the fact that he only did play 29 games versus Hellebuck's 58, Vasilevskiy's 52, and Rask's 41. But he kept the Arizona Coyotes in every single game. He had fantastic stats, a 2.22 goals against average and a 9.28 save percentage, which are very impressive, especially for a not so great Arizona Coyotes team. And he's definitely one of the reasons why this team won games, even despite the fact they weren't, quite as high in the standings as people expected them to be, especially with the additions of Kessel and then later on Taylor Hall. But the focus in this video is Vasilevskiy, Rask, and Hellebuyck. So I want to talk about each one, what they did good for the team, and who I think should win the Vezina. So starting off with Andrei Vasilevskiy, played 52 games with the Tampa Bay Lightning, fantastic record with 35 wins, only 14 regulation losses and 3 overtime losses. And, he's rocking a 2.56 goals against average, 9.17 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. And he was good for this team. I feel like the Tampa Bay Lightning weren't quite as good defensively as they might have been the past couple seasons. He definitely backstopped them each game, always gave them a chance to win, and he had another really solid season. He does take a bit of a dip from, previous seasons. Save percentage wise, he put up a 925 the previous season, a 920 the season before, but make no mistake, this guy is a fantastic young starter, and he's one of the premier starters in the league, and he will be one of the best goaltenders in my opinion for quite a while for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So they're lucky to have this guy locked in, even if he was an expensive contract, but he had a really good season. Next up, we got Tuukka Rask, another fantastic season from the Finn. 2.12 goals against average, 9.29 save percentage, and 5 shutouts. And his record is 26, 8, and 6. Fantastic record, and he's one of the big reasons why the Boston Bruins were such an incredible team this season. They were amazing, and they, obviously are. I feel like if the season had ended with full 82 games, they would have been the President Trophy winners. A lot, to do with Tuukka Rask. He, faces a good amount of shots, and he just seems to be a puck-stopping machine. He's got fantastic positioning, pretty speedy, mobile guy, and this guy's known to have good seasons. He definitely has taken a dip the past several seasons. He wasn't quite to the level as he was, I would say, when he was younger, around that 2011 to, 2014, 2015 stretch when he was playing better hockey, but he really brought that back. I think the previous playoffs, the 2019 playoffs, he played amazing, and he's really kept that flow going, had another fantastic season, and definitely a very deserving candidate for the Vezina. Last but not least, a player who people might have not have thought about as much when thinking about the Vezina trophy, besides for sure Winnipeg fans. You got Connor Hellebuyck, and he had a great season with the Winnipeg Jets. A team that was not expected to be very good, and they definitely exceeded expectations in big part because of what Connor Hellebuyck did for this team. He rocks a 31, 21, and 5 record, not as good as the other goaltenders. He puts up a 2.57 goals against average and a 9.22 save percentage with 6 shutouts. Things that strike out for me: one, he saved he faced 1,796 shots, and he made the most saves of any starting goaltender in the league this season. And despite facing so many shots and the fact that he was on a team that was expected to regress, they, lost a big player in Bufflin, and of course they also traded away their star defenseman in Trouba, but they still had a good season, in huge part due to Connor Hellebuyck. He faces a lot of shots. The defense isn't at all as good as it used to be for the Winnipeg Jets, and yet he still really kept them in a decent record, and very underrated goaltender in this league, and a very deserving top 3 candidate for the Vezina. Now, when I'm looking at these players, I like Vasilevskiy, but I think compared to Rask and Hellebuyck, I kind of see him as the number 3 guy in voting for this trophy. I think the top 2 guys were Tuukka Rask and Connor Hellebuyck. No knack on Vasilevskiy. He had a fantastic season, but I don't think he was quite the level as Rask and Hellebuyck were for their teams, and he wasn't quite the stopper, as those two. I would say, if you think about it, the way that these 3 players contributed, I feel like Rask and Hellebuyck provided more for their team than Vasilevskiy did. I think that's an important thing to consider when, seeing who wins the Vezina trophy, because a big element also is, who was incredibly valuable to their team. This isn't the Hart Trophy, but it is an important aspect. And also, given the better, stats with Rask and Hellebuyck, I give it, to them two to be the top two. Now, who do I think is going to win, and who do I think is more deserving? I actually have different players for both of those questions. I expect Tuukka Rask to win. He has the better stats, with a 212 goals against average and the 929 save percentage, and also just has an incredible record at 26-8 and 6. And usually, goaltenders who play for better teams, who are a lot more successful in the standings, definitely have the upper edge for the Vezina trophy. Obviously, Connor Hellebuyck did not have that opportunity because he wasn't playing for a very good Winnipeg Jets team, at least not to the level as they've been in the past, and still kept him very relevant and still had a very solid record given what he had on his roster. But I think just given the better stats from Tuukka Rask, especially on the wins column, and the save percentage also, he wasn't facing the danger shots that Hellebuyck was facing. Let's look in the perspective. I mean, Hellebuyck did play quite a few more games, but, shots against, Hellebuyck had an incredible amount. He faced 1,796 shots against, whereas Rask faced 1,189. And I think when you put in the ratios, based on the games they played, Hellebuyck still definitely faced a lot more shots per game. And he kept this team into games. So I feel like Connor Hellebuyck is the more deserving guy. I think Rask just gets it because, the better stats on the better team. And, he's also more of a well-known name. I feel like, people aren't thinking about Hellebuyck as much. And I know fans don't like to admit it, but I feel like being the bigger name in the comparison between the two can give you a bit of an edge sometimes. But, make no mistake, Connor Hellebuyck was a fantastic goaltender. And personally, I would give him my vote for the Vezina just based on, kind of the poor defense he faced, and despite that, still playing at an astounding level, and keeping the Winnipeg Jets relevant the whole season. I would give him my Vezina vote, but I expect Tuukka Rask to get the votes based on the criteria that I mentioned. But overall, I think it's a really solid top three. I think it's reasonable to see why each of these three players were given the nomination. And yeah, I'm kind of pulling for Connor Hellebuyck, but I totally get, why Rask is probably going to get it because he was fantastic this season. He kind of seems like he's back in his old form, with this season and the 2019 playoffs. He's really showing, why he's this fantastic Finnish goaltender, because he did have some weak seasons the years prior, and I saw some Bruins fans complain, for a few years, but he's a fantastic goaltender, and it's nice to see him, really figure out his game again. And yeah, so those are my thoughts on the Vezina race. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. I read all comments, and I'll definitely try to respond to all of them. And definitely leave a like on this video. Hit a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.